So how much distance is enough distance? And how far does the average golfer hit their clubs? Two great questions that I'm going to answer right after this. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I continue my journey to hit it longer and straighter, both off the tee and all the way through to the green, because hitting the ball long and straight for 18 holes is just a lot of fun. I hope you'll join me. Hit the subscribe button, like this video at the end if you got some benefit, and of course help me out by leaving a comment down below. So of course one of the big themes of this channel is to hit the ball farther and farther and farther, and maybe hit the longest drives of your life. But at what point is that just show off distance and not really necessary if you're really trying to drop your handicap? So I took a look at the Arccos data. Arccos is that really cool app that you screw in the little the sensor here on each club and use the app on your phone, and it helps to chart your way around the course, all your stats and averages. And they have a lot of expertise in how far the average golfer hits, because they're literally averaging hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of shots per year, and gives us a really good idea on what the average golfer does. So let's take a look at three handicap thresholds. Let's take a look at, let's say, an 18 handicap or a bogey golfer, what they average doing. Let's say a 9 handicap, because that's breaking into single digits, what I know a lot of you out there would really love to do. And then we'll also take a look at the average scratch golfer. And I think you just might be surprised at all of these distances. All right, so starting with the bogey golfer, the 18 handicap golfer, that's someone who shoots generally in the low 90s, sometimes breaks 90, gets into the high 80s. A typical drive, according to Arccos, a typical drive, not an average drive. You got to remember that in all these averages, we've got a few balls that have been hit on the ground or hit a tree, hit something, fallen down, not getting the normal distance, maybe a really bad miss hit. But the typical drive for about an 18 handicap golfer is 210 to 220 yards. So let's take a look at the swing needed for 210 to 220 yards. We're going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 80 to 85 miles per hour to do this. And for me, that just takes a swing of about like that. 210 to 220 yards is all that's necessary. If you're trying to get down to bogey golf, will it be helpful to drive it farther than 220 yards? Sure, it would be a fantastic advantage if the ball is consistently in play. So some of you out there, your 18 handicaps, which you might be driving it way over 220 yards, you're probably an 18 handicap because you're not finding that ball often enough. And you could stand toning it down by just hitting a shorter club off the tee, going for less on certain holes, just to make sure you keep it in play. Okay, now with a 7-iron for a bogey golfer, all you're really looking for here is reliably to hit the ball about 135 to 140 yards, and that's about all we need with the 7-iron. You're just looking to catch it clean and up in the air every time. Something like that. Don't need to swing hard on the 7-iron. You're just looking to make more shots look alike if you're a bogey golfer. Less dispersion from left to right. Hit it on or near the green more often, and make less double bogeys on par 3. All right, now moving on to the single digit handicap, which a lot of my students are trying to break through from double digit into single digit handicaps for the first time in their life. It's a great accomplishment to reach a 9 handicap for most golfers. Arccos says that the average drive in this category is somewhere in the 220 something range, which means that the typical drive, if you don't hit a tree or something to wreck your average, it's going to be somewhere around 230 to 240 yards is what we're going to need to comfortably play to a 9 handicap, which means you're going to shoot in the low to mid 80s a lot, occasionally in the 70s. Let's see if I can do about a 230 to 240 yard drive. This is going to take somewhere in the mid to upper 80 mile an hour range. So if you want to break through the double digits into a 9 handicap or so, you're going to probably need to hit 7-iron. Oh, right around 150 yards would be just fine. If you can hit it farther than that, well, it has its advantages if, again, your dispersion left and right is not great. If you can hit it 175 yards, but you can go 25 yards offline left or right, you're setting yourself up for that double bogey again. And being a better golfer is simply about eliminating the crooked number on the scorecard. Let's take a look at my 150-yard 7-iron. This is going to take about around 80 miles an hour. All right, so now we're down to what does it take off the tee to be about a 0 handicap golfer. It's really only going to take, you'll be surprised, a typical drive for a scratch golfer is only about 250 to 260 yards on average. Now, Arccos has the average a little bit lower than that. However, remember, we've got some miss hits, maybe a hit tree there and here and there. So average is not going to be the same as typical, but typically a scratch golfer is averaging 250 to 260 off the tee. Again, any more than that, if you can hit it 300 yards, that's fantastic. If you can use it tactically to get around the course in less strokes. If you're hitting it 300, but you're flying it left and right, missing the fairway too often, or even taking penalty strokes, you might as well just be hitting it off the tee with a different club and just going for the 250, because that's what a lot of scratch golfers are doing. All right, let's take a look at a 250 to 260 swing. This is going to be in the neighborhood of maybe 92 to 93 miles per hour. All right, so then the average scratch golfer typically is going to hit their 7-iron about 160 yards. It's going to take, somewhere around 83 miles per hour to do it. Let me give that a try. All right, so you can see the stats on the screen. I overshot that one just a touch. Still a pretty good shot. Average for a scratch golfer, 7-iron, right around 160 yards 7-iron. Now, so what do these distances mean for you? It means that if you're below the distances that for the handicap that you aspire to, means we got to pick it up. We got to figure out how you're going to hit the ball farther so you can meet up with these averages. It's also telling if you've got extra yardage and you hit the ball farther than what's necessary or what's average. What this means is that you don't have to focus so much on distance right now, getting more distance, but instead, probably we need to tighten up left and right dispersion, figure out how to straighten the plane and the path out a little bit better, figure out how to control the club face a little bit better, and maybe you need to spend a few more hours around the chipping and putting areas. So in summary, big distance can be a huge advantage, but not at the expense of going deep in the trees or taking penalty shots. So if you've got more distance than you need, try to use it more tactically. Just limit those swings. So there's just a few shots around where you can get away with your miss. So hey, I hope the information in this video makes you better in the coming months. I'm Steve. So thanks so much for watching, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.